You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
This is it, and I was like super confident. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And I remember like the curtain, because they pull the curtain open and then I walk out, and I just remember that moment. And then I felt like this wave of like a wash just like fall all over me, that I was like, oh, here we go. That's it. Like, this is it. This is the beginning.
Welcome to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm Heather Vickery.
And I'm Alan Seals, and we're two perfect strangers who met by chance and embraced opportunity.
Nobody could fucking understand you.
We were doing Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonations before we got going. So that's why Lauren brought up her daddy. Who's your daddy and what does he do? We got the kindergarten cop reference. Anyway, I'm Alan. We're two perfect strangers. We met by chance. Listen in as we chat with other successful people about the risks they've taken to put themselves on a path to creative success. Get to the chopper.
Alan, who's our guest today?
Lauren Jelencovich. We are so excited to have Lauren.
Nightingale. Jelencovich.
Yes, as coined by Yanni, which we'll get into. While still in high school, Lauren won the grand prize on Ed McMahon's Star Search. Hello. She's an incredible singer who's got a style of a mix of pop, musical theater, and opera. Woo! And by age 20, she had performed at Carnegie Hall in New York at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. She's performed privately for Andrea Bocelli. Holy shit.
That's
and
so
as a world... Yeah, right. As a world traveler, having visited over 60 countries, has recently worked with Project Runway's Mizrahi. She's a graduate from prestigious Manhattan School of Music and is currently, as we just mentioned, on a world tour with Yanni as his featured vocalist. Lauren, holy shit. Welcome to Was It Chance.
How's it feel to hear that?
I was like, man, can I just like put you in my pocket and take you out wherever I go?
Yes, it's a podcast. Yes, you can.
Okay, because I like really get nervous when people are like, oh, just tell us a little about yourself and give us a little 50-word bio. And I'm always like, okay, I don't know what to say. But now I can just be like, hold on one second. Let me just send you this audio from Alan.
Exactly. Be like, actually, listen to this podcast episode.
Yeah, wow, that was like, I'm impressed. Thanks so much.
And I have to tell you, we take turns sort of doing the research and putting these notes together for our interviews. And Alan texted me this morning. He's like, this girl's kind of a big fucking deal.
I don't know if that's really true.
I just want to point out, Heather, that she said that she's impressed with me and my bio writing skills. Let's not talk about her accomplishments and the fact that I just rattled off this giant bio of great accomplishments.
Welcome back to the Alan Show, everybody.
Okay, still in high school. When obviously you've been singing long before you got onto Star Search. So when did all of this begin? What was the first chance you took that was like, I'm just going to go out and sing?
I mean, I'm not, I was told that when I was about 5, I used to always talk, when you walk in the mall and you hear like a song very faintly in the background of like the main mall.
In a what? In a
mall. I know, right? Like we haven't done that
in Brooklyn. They don't have those there.
You don't have, yeah, that's true. You don't. And yeah, I guess, I don't know how old you guys are, but I, grew up in a mall where it was like nothing you could
I'm from Indianapolis.
Okay.
The mall was your social life.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it was like walking around. But when I was about 5, I guess I was walking around with my mom and I was always like, oh, there's a song in my ear. And my mom thought I was obviously crazy because she couldn't hear anything. But I was hearing like the background music in the mall. It's kind of like that elevator music.
Like the music?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a song in my ear. I love that, actually.
Yeah, like you just song in my ear.
You're wild for it.
Yeah, and so sometimes, still to this day, it's very hard for me to focus if I hear another song out, as something else is happening. I'm always like, I'm singing the song in my head that I'm hearing right now, instead of paying attention to what's going on. But
I have a kid like that.
Okay, yeah. We'd get
and a
along
podcast partner.
That's true. And so it kind of started when I was really little. My mom's mom played the piano and was always kind of encouraging me to sing and whatnot. But I had my very first solo. I would sing in the church choirs and stuff. But a Christmas concert at school was, and I didn't even want the lead role. I wanted just this one small song in the Christmas pageant. And that's where I got like my first solo.
Wait, how old were you then?
I don't even know. 4th grade. How old are you in 4th grade? I don't even know anymore.
4th grade is like 10.
10. Yeah. Okay. 10, 11. Yeah. So that was then. And then I kind of sang throughout, school, and I just really liked it. And I was always, I was a big boss when I was a big boss. Sounds so wrong.
I love that.
I was like this, like, yo, okay. No, I would make
Turned into Frankie Valli for a
exactly.
second. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my dad's Italian, so
yeah, you know.
Yeah. And so I used to like make people record with me. The song like sing a song.
Yes.
And so I would like make people on cassette tapes to sing with me and record them, and you can hear me like we still have them and I can play them. And man, I was a little bitch sometimes. I was like, that's not right. You need to do that over. I'm singing here. Like
I sound like all of my daughters. It's amazing.
Yeah, okay.
Are we sure you're not mine? That's amazing.
No.
We're sure. We're sure. You
got
guys.
me.
I'm old, but I'm not that old.
There you go. And so, yeah, that's kind of like where I started. And then when I was in high school, my dad was kind of like heard this commercial for Star Search, like that they were going to be, it was on the radio, and he was like, they're auditioning people for Star Search.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was on the AM radio station, and I was always like, do not play AM radio.
It's only for traffic news and updates.
Yeah,
and
like
Star
I wanted to
Search.
hear music.
Yeah, nobody listens to that.
Star Search. And so
get to the
said,
FM for the cool stuff.
Yeah, and so he was like, we have to audition for Star Search, and I used to watch the show as a kid. Like I was obsessed with it. I also used to make my mom film me and pretend like I was on the show when I was 5.
That's amazing.
And I didn't even know that until years later after I won a Star Search, that we were going through these home videos, and we found this video of myself, like 5 years old, coming out singing "You Are My Sunshine." My mom is, filming with the big ass camera on the shoulder, like back in the 80s.
That's
and
so
she's
cool.
like,
VHS
okay.
tape
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
camcorder, yeah.
And she's like, okay, pretend you're on Star Search, and here I'd come, I'd be like, "You are my sunshine, my only," and I'd sing it like that. And then my mom was like, 5 stars. And then I'd be like, "I'll be right back. I'm coming to sing it in my opera voice." Like, what 5-year-old is like, "I'll be right back. I'm going to sing in my opera voice now. Just give me a second. Where's my boa?" And here I came in, I was like, "You are my son." It was really weird.
This was clearly your destiny, Lauren.
I mean, I guess, right? Like, I honestly don't remember any of that. The only reason I know that is after I won, like years later, watching home videos around Christmas time and shit. And like, I was like, oh shit, like what? I manifested that. That's what I think.
Fucking manifested it.
And I didn't even know it.
What was the show like? The audition process and the actual competition?
So it was weird. Like you had to go down to, I grew up in Florida. And so the auditions were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I grew up in West Palm Beach, the Wellington area. And so we drove down there, and I had a tape with my accompaniment on it. And they, said to bring a CD or whatever, and they didn't know how to work the tape player. So my dad, of course, is like, I came all the way down here from, he's like, "No, you were going to play it. I play it for you. I press play." And so he actually pressed the play button for me to audition for Star Search because they couldn't figure it out. Like, who would have thought? And then I sang, and then I got a call, and they said, "Okay, you've made it past the first round." And then it was kind of like at the time that things were going online. So it was Ed McMahon, and it was called Ed McMahon's Next Big Star Search. And so it was like a series of things before you got to TV. And I made it all the way to the TV level, which was like, it was fucking crazy. I had braces. So
braces. I always wonder if it's hard to sing with braces.
Yeah.
I had a huge gap between my teeth, and they were like, "Oh, you can play, like you can get braces, it'll close up." And I did, and it for like 5 months I had braces. Of course, it was when I was on television all over the nation, I had braces. So that's fine. But,
I had headgear. I had braces for 2.5 years.
Me too. Like the outside that had to wrap around your head.
Yeah, I had to sleep with the thing around my neck to pull my jaw back because I had
to go to
overbite.
school in it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
you guys.
Oh, you're right. For like 3 months, 3 or 4 months, the very beginning, I had to do that. Oh God, you're
They
bringing
don't
back
do that
memories.
to kids anymore. Now
No,
all
they
of that
don't.
equipment is inside the mouth. And it does look like they're from RoboCop inside their mouths, but
That's awesome.
it really does. Like this is huge like contraption that goes inside their mouths.
Wow.
But at least no one can see it but them.
I'm making a
There
stank
you go.
face.
Okay. So
So yeah, and then I got
your
on the
braces
show.
did not cause a problem for you, is what?
They didn't apparently, so that was really great.
And you have a lovely smile right now, I must say.
Thank you so much. Well, that was like that. You know, I've never had a cavity. I have a really great dentist. His name is Dr. Louis Panulo. He's based on Long Island. We're gonna do a little plug for him right now because let's be real. And he's a huge music lover, actually. Like he's friends with like all of the Phantom of the Opera cast, and it's crazy.
I was going to say,
awesome.
there. I see posts like I'm heavily involved with the Broadway world, and there's like people are like, "Thank you, praise this dentist and orthodontist who like saved my chipped tooth and fixed my cavity in 2 hours before my show tonight."
Was the name Louis Panulo? Dr.
Yeah,
Louis
I think
Panulo.
it's
pretty
Panulo.
Sure
I think
probably it.
I'm pretty sure it's him.
He's like the dentist to the Broadway stars.
Yeah,
and also like billiards. You know, all of the world champion billiards players too. I'll tell you about that later. But
Just like hockey, you knocked out a lot of teeth playing billiards, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Lauren, what was the song that you sang to win the Next Big Star Search?
Yes,
The Next Big Star.
The Star Search. Yeah, I sang a song called "The Prayer," and it was an Andrea Bocelli, Celine Dion song. And it was the song that my dad was like, "You have to sing it half in Italian and half in English."
And
I
know that song. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very
it's
popular.
a really great song. And so that's what I sang with. And you know who was the co-host that episode? It was Cisco. Wait, I feel like I have a picture of this. I should find it.
Please send it to us. We can use it in
at
promo.
another time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And any videos of you at 5 performative Star Search. Yeah, send it on.
We'd have to find those. I haven't seen them in a long time, so we do have to find them. We've been wanting to transfer everything from VHS to DVD and all that shit. It's like overwhelming. My parents are one of those people that film.
Don't put it on DVD. Just have them put it straight.
Yeah,
on the cloud.
Send it off to a service. They'll digitize it, give you files on a flash drive.
Wait, they do that?
Oh yeah.
Shut your face! What?
I am in love with you.
Oh my God,
I'm fully in love with you. I want to put you in my pocket.
Oh my gosh, I'm here for it.
Well, luckily she's in a podcast now, so you can do that.
That's right.
Yes, my dad just got thousands of slides. He sent off all his carousels of slides and just sent me a flash drive with like 2,000 or 3,000 images on it, and I uploaded them to Google Photos for him. So now like all that stuff just cycles through all our smart home devices, and we had our old VHS tapes digitized years ago. So I've got all my old home videos on private links on YouTube now.
Literally, my mind is blown right now because, like we have that machine that was like, okay, you put your VHS in and then it converts the thing. And my mom's always like, please help me with it. And I'm like, it seems so overwhelming.
Pay someone to do
Outsource that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to find out the name of that.
Listen, you're on tour with Yanni. I think you can just handle a little bit of digitization.
Exactly.
Services.
I'm like, somebody please organize my life.
Alan wants to know if you maintained a relationship with Ed McMahon before he died after you won.
Did not. I mean, no, not really. Like, I mean, he was really nice then, and I kind of like lost touch. We kind of kept in touch with his son. So every once in a while, like would like reach out and like say, but I was really young. And then when did he die? I can't even remember when.
2009.
Yeah. Like, so I had like 2 years out of college, but, so it had been a little minute, but I don't know.
Wait, when was Next Big Star Search? That was 2000. That was 2000?
Yeah. I won it in the year 2000.
Wow.
October. Right before I turned 16.
This was pre-American Idol. When did American Idol start?
No, literally, it was like the original American Idol. Like people, like they were too young to know what Star Search is. I'm like always like it is. I can't speak today, but I will get there. It's like the original American Idol. Like that's that's what I'm about. I was like, Britney Spears did it, Justin Timberlake, everybody who's
Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell.
And people forget. I
Yeah.
saw a tweet yesterday that said Kelly Clarkson's the only good thing America ever voted in, but they forget about Star Search because of all the names you just dropped.
That was a vote thing.
Mhm.
Okay, here's my funny American Idol story, whether or not it's funny. So I used to be in events, and I opened both of the W hotels here in downtown Chicago.
Okay.
Right around this time. Like it was actually, yes. Yeah, right around this time. And I get this last minute, literally like 2 days before, call from Fox. They've got this brand new reality TV show coming out, and they need a ballroom to do interviews in, or to do auditions in. And I'm like, I don't have a ballroom for you 2 days out. Like, we have clients. And then like 6 months later, I realized it was American Idol.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
And they could have said, hey, that lady we talked to, we need to get her on the show because we know she's going to know every word to this musical that hasn't been written yet called Hamilton.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm actually Lin-Manuel Miranda. No.
I love it.
Okay, wait. We are here to talk about Lauren.
No,
I love how you wrote Alan wants to know, and then you said Alan wants to know, and then you asked the question about Ed McMahon. But,
I did.
I wrote it down. Okay, so Heather wants to know.
Okay, Heather. All right, we're getting to Heather's question.
After being awarded, you were awarded the National Italian Federation's Andrea Bocelli Scholarship.
Yeah. So, it was the National Italian American Foundation's World Scholarship, and it was Andrea Bocelli World Scholarship. So yeah, and I did that. That was my first year of college.
Coming back to manifestation, you sang the prayer again.
So see, that's all weird. It's all like weirdly connected.
For Andrea.
Yeah, exactly. And that was frightening, let me tell you.
Other than frightening, what was that like, really? Like, what was that experience like?
Oh my God, I died. I literally was like, this is insane. I was maybe 10 feet away from him. And I was freaking out. And David Foster, he was there.
Wow.
And Tony Reyes was there. All the people that wrote the song. And then who else? Mario Andretti was there. Oh, Larry King came. He was there. Larry King walked in. And all I could think about was
Larry.
Don't hit on me, Larry. Don't hit on me. That's all you can think about. No. May he rest in peace.
Oh my God. So it was really weird and surreal. And I was kind of like, this is so weird. And I wore this power suit, man. I was channeling Celine. I wore this white ivory power,
I need
suit.
a picture.
Oh man, I have a picture. I'm gonna send you all my pictures.
Send
okay?
us all your pictures.
And it was just I can't fit into it anymore, but I still have it. So
you can get rid of that.
Because I know, right?
Were they nice when you were in that
They
room?
were
Were those
very
people?
nice.
Yeah.
So nice. They were so nice. Everybody is so nice. I don't know if it's just me because I'm always like, hi. And I just can we hang? But everybody was really, really nice. So that was really fun. And they flew me out to LA and my family came and it was kind of a cool experience.
That is incredible.
Well, talking about I guess the manifestation of making all these things coming full circle and taking the opportunity of chance when it's presented to you, right? So you win Star Search when you're 16, and then did that create the opportunity for you to go to Manhattan School of Music, or were you already heading that way, or what did the scholarship do? Was that part of this timeline too?
No, the scholarship actually came during my first year of college. So I got that during my first year of college. But I think that I always really liked to sing, and at that point, before the Star Search thing, I was just kind of like, I would love to do it, but didn't really know what was happening. And I was involved with like all of the musical theater stuff at school, and I kind of was like, I don't know, maybe I'll go to music school. I wasn't quite sure. And then after that Star Search thing, I was like, oh shit, man, maybe I can do this. Like, you know, I was like, maybe I need to like do this. And I was like, all right, but I have a weird voice, but I guess that's not like totally weird. But I mean, it's a freakishly high voice. It's not, so it's your unique, typical,
which is a bonus.
That's what I should say, unique. Instead of being like, I have a freakishly high voice. Like,
you do something that most people can't do, and that is how you build a career.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And so it's funny, like I'm kind of like figuring out like how to that's a whole other story. We can talk about that, Heather, later. But yeah, like I kind of was like, I want to audition for school. I studied classically because I was always told that like I have a great voice for that, but once you're able to do that, you can do whatever you want. And I'm a mimicker. So I grew up listening to Jodie Benson. I grew up listening to all that stuff, and it was easy for me to really switch between genres. Like, you know, I have a lot of classical friends who are like, how do you sing like, you know, with no vibrato? Like, how do you, you know? And I'm like, I don't know how. I think it's just something that I learned when I was a kid, and so I listen to something and I can pretty much sing it right back. And so I wanted to audition for schools. I didn't know what to do. I really wanted to go to New York. And I applied for like Berklee College of Music. I got a full scholarship to go to Berklee College of Music. In Boston Conservatory, full scholarships. And then I went to Manhattan School of Music, where I got like a partial scholarship. So I was like,
you
you know,
that's so something I would do.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. I mean, I don't have any regrets. I feel like everything obviously happens for a reason. So I'm happy with my choice, and you know, I think Berklee would have been a really cool place to figure out now that I'm in this like weird crossover world, which is essentially what I wanted to do anyways. But I wanted to be in New York to try to do Broadway stuff, you know.
Right.
And I did book an off-Broadway show when I was in college, so that was cool. We'll see. So that kind of came like, yeah, all of that kind of, it was weird. And then after I won Star Search, going back, I'm sorry, because I can't, you know, I can't, I'm all like all over the place. But I did an album with a guy, his name was Dave Miranda, who wrote I Will Remember You for Sarah McLachlan.
Wow.
And so I did like a whole album of his stuff too. And that's when I was like, oh, I want to do this. And so that was like my first album.
He also produced Karate Kid in 1984. I just want to put that out there.
He did?
Yes.
How did I not know that?
How did you? What, you didn't know that?
I don't know.
Yes, look him up on IMDb. That's his first credit. Karate Kid, 1984.
Do you ever compose music?
So I recently started to write.
Do you think you could sing something for me on the spot right now? We've never had a woman do this, Alan.
Oh shit,
oh,
man.
God. Oh gosh.
Wait, have you had other people do this, or just not a woman?
So yeah. If you go back, I know you've listened to some of the episodes of the show, but our very first episode was with James Harkness.
Okay.
And James,
that's like the
on the
only
spot,
one I haven't listened to.
That's okay. James on the spot composed a song called "Shut the Fuck Up, Alan." And then
I don't know if I can compete with that.
And then Drew Gasparini did his rendition. And this week we're releasing Josh Breckenridge's version. And I just thought maybe Lauren Nightingale Jelencovich might want an opportunity to compete.
Are there lyrics to this? Like, is it all the same song and people are just doing their different versions of it? Or is it like the
only lyrics are "Shut the fuck up, Alan"?
Shut the fuck up, Alan.
You do whatever you want with the rest of it.
As an aria.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, yes, as an opera.
As an opera aria. Okay. So let me know.
Okay. Everyone listening, know that this is Lauren has not prepared. We sprung this on her. She's not done vocal
really
warm-ups. No, of course not.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up. Holy shit, your voice is really high.
Wow. Your neighbors must love you, by the way.
You know what? It's payback because I guess the people that just moved upstairs have a dog, but it's like they don't have carpet or something. They have not put down a rug, and it's like
You could probably sing so high that it would fuck their dog all the way up.
Yeah, I probably could actually.
Do you notice, like, again, I come from the musical theater world, the Broadway world, so I don't know how to describe this, and I'm going to offend somebody. I feel like there's an inherent stuffiness about the classical, the ballet, the Broadway, the like, I'm being prim and proper, good posture, balancing books on my head right now.
Yeah.
And then musical theater is just like down and dirty and we can fudge a little bit, right? But then there's the combination of Christine Daae and Phantom, and you've got, even Glinda and Wicked has a little bit of that operatic background in it and all that. So there's an opportunity for crossover, but because you've got your feet sort of in both worlds a little bit, what you were saying just a second ago about perfectionism sort of took me here, because I feel like, do you notice a difference in between or between the two worlds of, like, are you more relaxed in musical theater versus like you have to be exactly precise in the opera sort of thing? And then my other question is, the perfectionism, is that a product of being in the opera world, or is that just inherent to like personality, inherited behavior?
I think that, okay, so a couple things. I totally understand everything that you're saying about that world, both worlds. And I think that's kind of like, I think I was really great at opera, but I always felt very like, yeah, you're right, it has to be perfect. And it took me a lot longer to work on operatic stuff, like music-wise, that I was always very nervous about it. So I think that's kind of like why I wanted to do a little bit of a mixture. It didn't always feel like I was opera. And I also grew up with a lot of theater, and I really liked meshing that all together. And I love that world. Yeah, like there seemed to be a little bit of stuffiness, but I feel like that's pretty like a lot of it is changing nowadays,
That's good.
So which is great. But I remember, like, I would go and meet like producers and different people, and I met a couple with different record labels, and I remember always like going in and they'd be like, well, like, what are you? And I'm like, well, I can literally do it all. I can do the pop, I can do the theater, and I can do opera. Like I can mix them all together. And
Why
it
you
was
putting me in a
always
box?
like, yeah, and it was always like, well, you have to pick one. You can't have like all of these. You need to pick a genre. You need to pick a lane. And I was always very like, I don't really feel like that's the case. Like, you don't need, like, so now I feel like that world has changed, because now you have a ton of people who are just kind of carving out their own path. And I think that that has to do a lot with like technology and like the internet and stuff, like where people were able to like find their own little corner of the world and their own little space, and has opened up that, because people fucking love that shit. They want you, like audiences and just people all around the world are like, oh, you do this, but you also do this, and you also do this. Like they're a fan of the people, am I like going on a tangent here?
No.
It's been normalized a bit more because of your Kristen Chenoweths and your Megan Hiltys and your people who have classical training backgrounds who have gone, I will put in air quotes, legit, right?
Yeah. That's and that's funny. Like, and I always, felt like before the internet or like whatnot, I didn't really know that there were other people like that. Like I'm like those singers, and so that was really interesting to see that, oh, now they're making that path for people like us. Like we
the
are
internet
like,
is so cool for that. YouTube, now TikTok, for the ability for people to get themselves out there and to be it's because back, you are a whole lot younger than me, but back in our day, it was fucking Star Search, right? Like if you couldn't get on Star Search, you were screwed.
Yeah, exactly. It was like you had to have these big
or be a Mouseketeer
behind you. Oh my god,
or both.
True.
In the case of Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, exactly. So, but to answer, I think I didn't really like fully answer your question about the perfectionism part of it, which I think that I don't know. I think that was more inside of me. Like, I don't think that was a product of the classical world as much, because when it started when I was younger, like, before I was fully in like classical opera. And then it kind of like got more intense. And I was always like, oh my God, well, it has to be perfect. But it doesn't really have to be perfect.
in this business, I think we're all cut from the same cloth a little bit in that we're, you know, the need to be on stage or the need to perform or the need to express oneself comes from a desire deep down inside somewhere for a need to be accepted or a need to feel good about themselves, right? And that's, I mean, speaking for myself here completely, like the applause on stage is like, oh, for this moment, I'm actually good.
Yeah.
People actually like me. It's cool. And then, you know, like
and you need a constant fix. You need a constant fix.
Yeah, constant fix. So you're performing for Andrea Bocelli. You're touring the world with Yanni. You're working with these amazing, amazing individuals, and yet at the same time, you're like, I need to warm up. I need like what is Shut the Fuck Alan wasn't good enough. Like, shut the fuck up.
No, that's so true. And people don't realize that. I think I felt comfortable. I mean, I think you always have a little bit of like nervousness every time, but the very first time I went out, I had like literally the first concert I ever sang with Yanni. That was the only moment in my life where I was like, this is it, you know? And I was like super confident. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And I remember like the curtain, because they pull the curtain open and then I walk out, and I just remember that moment. And I felt like normally you get like, you know, but then I felt like this wave of like a wash just like fall all over me, that I was like, oh, here we go. That's it. Like, this is it. This is the beginning. And so, and that was like the only time, but ever since then, yeah, I still get a little bit like, I do the same shit backstage, you know, right before I go on, you know, I crack my toes. I don't know if anybody else does that, but that's like super weird. I don't think I've ever told anybody that.
We make people feel safe. It's a safe space.
Yeah, you know, like I'm like, okay, I gotta crack all
before I go out, I crack your toes too. That's really weird.
That's right. I knew that was you in Tuscan. I couldn't see you backstage.
Lauren, I would love to go back and learn more. So you picked New York instead of
New York,
Boston or California, where you had full rides because you wanted to do a little Broadway. What unfolded where that wasn't your career path and instead singing was? What
I kind of was I mean, like I still hope that can happen one day, you know. I feel like I got my equity card. I'm like, you know, I just need to find, like, number one, I never really had an agent, right?
We need to introduce you to Drew fucking Gasparini.
I need to meet Drew Gasparini.
They're doing virtual auditions for Karate Kid musical right now.
Shut your face, really? All right, listen, I can send my resume. No.
All right.
Seriously.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
No, I love that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, because what happened? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I can ask Megan Paterno, who's just ended her run as Christine Daae in Phantom.
Yeah. Okay, so I've never met Megan. I feel like I may have spoken to her on the phone a long time ago, but we have a lot of the same friends. She went to Manhattan School of Music.
Yeah.
And but I've never actually like physically met her.
Oh,
so
she's so great.
She's fantastic. So I'm a huge fan of her work. I think she's great. So yeah, but what happened like was I went to MSM and I was really excited, and I would skip class and obviously go and wait outside in the hallway at, you know, calls for auditions for Broadway. And when I was non-equity, I would like literally just be out there waiting. And then of course they were like, okay, we're not seeing any non-equity today.
That's a brutal, a brutal routine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now it's a little bit better, I feel like, with online, but like, you know, and so I remember that Bernard Telsey they were doing auditions in Boston. They were doing open call auditions for like everything. And they did them in New York, and I was like, it's going to be too packed in New York. Like, I've got to drive to Boston. And I drove to Boston. My dad flew from Florida and drove me to Boston because I was like studying for something else, and it was like a whole overnight thing. And drove to Boston, and I got in there and I sang, and I can't remember who I sang for, but they were like, wait, you live in New York City? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, can you sing the Phantom of the Opera stuff? And I was like, yeah. And so I sang Popular from Wicked, and I sang all of the shit that, you know, like that I would be cast for. And they were like, all right, but I didn't have an agent. And so then they started calling me in, even though I was non-equity at that point, for like all of the big calls. And but I never, you know, I made it to like the, you know, dance calls, top 5 girls for Glinda and Wicked, like multiple times. And I was always like, what am I doing wrong? You know, like I want to know because I want to play that role. And then after a while, like I did get my equity card. I did an off-Broadway show. It was called The Music Teacher. Mark Blum was in it, and written by Wally Shawn and his brother Alan Shawn. And that was like a really cool moment. And to be a part of that, I ended up getting a D in German because my teacher was mad that I missed class sometimes. So
Nein, not cool.
Yeah, no, like I legit had to. I was like, all of my teachers signed off on it. They're like, "Oh, that's great opportunity, go for you." And then my German teacher was like, "No."
How very German of that person.
Oh yeah, right. And so I
can't do Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you can make that comment. Okay. We'll
no, I had a German nanny once, and there's not a lot of nuance there. Like it's like she doesn't read fiction books because it's not real. So why would you spend your time doing that?
Oh boy, I'm not
that's
touching
very
that
German.
one. I'm not touching that one.
But so I would do the rehearsals in the morning, and we'd get an hour and a half for lunch. So I would go down to 42nd Street, do the rehearsal in the morning, and take the train back up to 125th Street for a half hour of German class, and then take a half hour train ride back down to 42nd Street.
That's fucked up.
During that, and I didn't really do very well in that class, but I got my equity card. And so then I was like, doing more and more. But then I got the Yanni thing. And I just felt like every time they were calling me, like I never had an agent. I mentioned that before, but like, so I didn't really know. But they were calling me and coming, can you come in for this role? Da, da, da. And I used to be like, yes, all the time. But I think after you say no, like if you're out of town and you say no so many times, like you can't phase out, right? So I was like really busy with Yanni at that time.
What led to Yanni? Like, how does that, like fucking Yanni? I think he's amazing, but I haven't heard Yanni's name, I don't think, since I was in high school.
I know. They had heard about me and I have a voice teacher, and one of her singers was singing for Yanni, and they were looking for a new female vocalist, and they said, can you send in some videos? And they had seen my videos, and then I was cocktail waitressing downtown at Amsterdam Billiards, and I got a call and they said,
second plug of the day.
There you go. Yeah. So I got a call and they were like, can you record these 2 songs that we'll email you and just sometime next week. This was on Halloween weekend of 2010. And I was like, yeah, sure. No problem. Cool. It's for Yanni. And I was like, all right, cool. So I worked till 4:00 in the mornings. Right. And so then the next day I got home that night and I listened to the song and and the next day I go back to work at X time and then I, leave and I listen to the song and everybody knows not to fucking call me on Sunday morning. Just don't fucking call me. Like, I'm not going to answer. But I got this call I think it was like 8 a.m. or like 8:30 in the morning. And I was like, who is this? It's calling me and it's calling me from my hometown area code, right? Because I grew up in Florida. So it's a 561 area code. And I was like, oh my God, there's probably like
somebody's dead.
That happened. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, like it's gotta be somebody from my parents, like what's happening? So of course I answered the phone. And they're like, hi, Lauren, this is so-and-so. I'm calling Yanni's management team. I wanted to know if we could fly you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. on a JetBlue flight to West Palm. Can you come and sing for Yanni in person? And then whenever you need to get back to New York, we'll send you right back. And I was like, yeah, sure. I literally am that person that is just like,
yeah, of course.
I know your whole podcast is all about chance and like what, and I'm always a big like proponent of like, yes, do it. Go for it. You say yes. Can you tap dance and throw footballs? Yes, I can. I'm not, but I will
can tap
know
dance
how.
on footballs.
Yeah, I was like, I will learn how to do it by the time you need me to. So I was like, yes, of course. And that was it. I called everybody I knew and I was like, can't come into work this week. I'm gone.
That is so cool.
And then I sang for him. And I ended up landing at the airport. They picked me up. And so he lives 25 minutes away from where I grew up. And they picked me up. It was the first time that like I was landing at my hometown airport and my parents weren't picking me up,
Weird.
So it was really weird. And they picked me up in this like limo car and then they drove me down to Miami and I was
picturing a horse-drawn carriage with like gold-plated wheels and everything.
Exactly. I want to be fucking Cinderella, people. And so I had to get fitted for like the in-ear monitors. And those are kind of expensive, dude. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
they're
like
hard to
$1,000
use,
like
right?
$1,000 a pair.
Yeah,
Erica told us you had to learn to sing differently.
Oh,
Erica
I heard
Swindell.
her talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different feel. It's just super different. If you've never done it before, it's like,
the resonance changes,
yeah, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And so they fitted me for the in-ear monitors before I ever sang for Yanni. And I was kind of like, so like, did I get it? Like I had,
Technicality.
I had no idea. And so then I sang for him and he's like, okay, that's great. We leave in a week and we're going to Puerto Rico and you're going to sing. It's like about, 15,000 people and we'll go down there and yeah.
That is incredible.
We're leaving on November 8th or 9th or something. And my birthday's on the 13th. Yanni's birthday's on the 14th of November. And so we were supposed to have concerts. My very first concerts were over that time. And that was it. And then it was really weird. And I ended up not really knowing what I was going to be paid also for the gig. You're going to love this. So nobody really told me what it was.
Why didn't you ask, Lauren? Why didn't you ask?
I did ask, and it was like, oh, so-and-so's going to tell you. Oh, so-and-so's going to tell you. So it wasn't like I didn't ask, but I was also like, so do we know what? Oh no, and this is the shit that they should teach you in music school is how to negotiate for yourself.
Yeah,
right?
they should.
Yes.
And be confident in that. That's why people need to fucking bring in business programs to those.
We don't need German. We need negotiation skills.
I need fucking music business courses.
Yeah.
But side note, anybody out there that wants to do that with me, I'm totally game to figure that out. But so I was kind of like, all right, well, I'm obviously going to go. They sent me the flight information. I was like, but I still don't know. They said, so-and-so is going to pick you up when you get there. So here I am, whatever. I taking a total chance. I didn't, whatever, just going to go. And then nobody was there to pick me up at the airport.
What? In Puerto Rico?
I know. And I was like, oh, I got in early, but then they're like, oh my God, no, they'll be right there. Don't worry, because I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. But, and that was it. And then then they were talking about a US tour. And I was kind of like, am I on the US tour? Did I get it? Is this just what? And they're like, oh yeah, you're on. We're going to Mexico in January. And then we're going to go here and doing a US tour. It was 80 cities or so, 80 concerts, 76 cities or something.
And that was 11 years ago.
I know.
I know, right? It was crazy. My very first concert was November 9th or 10th, I think, in Puerto Rico. And then the US tour we did in 2011. That was, yeah.
Okay,
wild.
So you had no idea what you were getting paid.
I
don't want to know what you got paid, but what was it like getting that check? When you got it, were you happy or
I was super
devastated?
excited. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, obviously, yeah, great.
Okay,
down
cool.
at Amsterdam
This is
Billiards.
good.
I love Amsterdam, don't worry. But this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. And then from that, that tour, I mean, Yanni knew I could sing really high, but I don't think he really knew how high I could sing. And so during that whole first tour, I would be backstage, much like earlier, where I was like, oh, doing weird shit. And he's always like, oh, you got a gerbil backstage. There's a gerbil backstage. And I was like, don't call me a gerbil.
So are you and Yanni close?
Don't call. Yeah, I mean, everybody's very friendly and he's great to work with, super nice. And it was during that first tour that he was like, how high can you sing? And I was like, I can sing pretty high. And he's like, okay, sing this melody. And he played this da 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 da. And he played it down the octave and I sang it. And he's like, okay, now sing it up here. And it goes up to a high F or whatever. And I was like, all right. And he goes, great. We're going to China. I haven't been there in 15 years. And I was like, okay. And you're going to come to Florida and we're going to write a vocal line for this song that I wrote for China 15 years ago. It's called Nightingale. And they did it with a Chinese flute on one of the albums back in 97, I think. And he's like, and we're going to write a vocal line and you're going to sing the part of the Nightingale. Wow. And I was like, okay, cool.
Can we find that on YouTube? Is that
so this is the story. So this is my big song with Yanni. So and then he was like, after we recorded it, he's like, this is gonna be great. I'm so excited. He's like, and it's gonna go on my opera album. And I was like, you have an opera album? He's like, I'm working on an opera album with Placido Domingo, Renee Fleming, Rolando Villazón, all of these super people that I had obviously listened to in college and a little bit before and you know, and I was like, oh shit, okay.
Wow.
What? And I was like, okay, yeah. And then it came out, so you can go through, I actually have it right here. Like, you go through the album and you see like me on the album in between like, Domingo and like all these things. And it's called Inspirato.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I sing the song every night with Yanni. It's called Nightingale.
Well, we're going to play a little bit of it right now.
Oh, all right.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Wasn't that great? Oh my God.
Thanks.
Editing is masterful.
I'll
Are
insert
you
that in post.
still
Love it.
on tour? Like, are you touring actively right now with Yanni? I mean, it's pandemic, but
I know. So I'm pretty much convinced that we had the last like arena concert in the world in March of 2020, because I think everything was shut down here, but I think I flew back. Like, we were supposed to do 3 concerts in Mexico, 1 in Colombia, and 1 in Costa Rica. And we did 2 of the 5 and ended in Mexico City for like 30,000 people at the arena. And then the next day we all flew home, and that was it. I mean, and I think that was March like 16th or 15th or something.
are there plans to go back out?
I mean, right now I feel like everything is not yet. Like, you know, and I think that they're erring a little bit more on like, oh, we'll see like how these other, you know, because there are people that are going out there, right? Like, I've seen a couple concerts and but I think that now things are kind of like starting to, who knows what's happening right now with this variant,
Broadway shut down March 12th, 2020. So yeah, that was right around the exact same time. Have you talked with Yanni or the production team at all in the meantime here during COVID, or has it just been like everyone for themselves? We'll see you when I think the world is weird.
Yeah,
weird again.
Everybody checks in. Like, we all like did a big, you know, like, oh, happy holidays recently. You know, everybody's kind of checking in, and I'm obviously and I think we ask like, oh, what's happening, but I think right now they're kind of just like kind of waiting it out to see how things are operating. I don't know if they really want to be the tour that takes the chance at the moment.
Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah.
And we do a lot of stuff overseas.
It's a lot of flying.
A lot, like in the Middle East, and you know, we were in China in 2019, right? So like right now, I don't know how that's all working international tours at the moment. I have no idea. I feel like I've been really out of the loop. So,
well, I want to touch on the Middle East, you said, for a second, because you were brought to Saudi Arabia at one point with Yanni, and you were the first woman in recent history to sing on stage for a mixed audience of men and women in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that was like that was pretty much. I feel like people always ask you, oh, what's your like cool, like what's the most memorable moment you have, and I know that was definitely like takes the cake, I think. You know, I was really weird because it wasn't something that was like announced. It was just Yanni referred to it on stage. You know, there's a lot of firsts happening right now, like during the concert, you know, and it really was like, and people come up to me afterwards and they were like, you came out on stage holding a microphone. Like, you're going to be in our history books. This is wild.
That's so
wow.
Yeah. So I felt, and I was really like, I loved that performance. I thought that it was one of the greatest performances I've ever given. I was very happy with it. And, you know, I'm always like critiquing myself afterwards. Right. But, I was like, no, I knew going out there, like that it was a really big thing. Yanni knew it was a big thing. I cried like when I finished, like I like as Yanni was like introducing me, Lauren Nightingale Jelencovich, I was like pretty much me, you know.
Is it hard to sing after that?
Well, no, I didn't. I've already sung. So at that point I was like, okay, like waterworks are welcome. And I got off stage and I was like really emotional. And so yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. And then we've gone back 3 times since. So
that's so cool.
Really cool.
It's cool to me, like the chance of it all. You're mentioning all these places, South America, that it doesn't surprise me that Yanni's very popular in South America, but in the Middle East too. The chance of all of these different cultures loving this particular type of music when there's so much oppression still, even to this day.
Yeah, it's true. It's wild. I mean, he's he kind of is like, music transcends borders, right? That's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the universal language.
The universal language. I was having that conversation with my partner this weekend. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that. And you don't really necessarily have to know what anything is saying, or some of the songs I sing with Yanni don't even have lyrics. Like Nightingale actually doesn't have any lyrics, right? It's all just a melody. And you can still communicate with people. And I think people really connect with it. And that's really interesting to see, because people write, I was very much like, okay, I'm going on a tour with Yanni. I want to like meet everybody, right? So I like created these little like cards. I was like, follow me online. I would stand outside and like try to meet all the fans, and I'd be like, I'd love to communicate, And I've got a really great community online now with all of these people. I feel like I know them. Like one of the women in Czech Republic, she sends like little gifts all the time. Jana Bendova, like I know like all these names. And it's really interesting to see people from all over connect with him. They love him, and it's world music.
I think they love genre. You too.
Oh, that's really sweet. I hope that they love me. I love them. I love experiencing all the different places. I'm just every day I'm like, oh shit, man, this is like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like so grateful, and never ever thought that would happen, like ever. So
you've made it very clear that you are all about embracing chance, that you are like the yes girl. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. All of that. Because when we hear that, we think you're not afraid, and that's probably not true. So where does fear fall into leaning into opportunity and chance?
That's definitely there. And I try to like just override it. I always say like I'm that extroverted introvert,
Me too.
Like, and I think that people don't really, they assume that, oh, you're like, number one, you're so happy. Oh, number two, you're just like, you talk to everybody. And it's like, yes, I can. And yes, I do. But also I'm always like,
like, I recently went a week by myself. I did a solo retreat in Milwaukee, and I only left the hotel room like twice just to get food.
See, you and I, we could travel well together.
I know. Can we do that? Let's do that.
Let's do it. But
can we please maybe your behind the scenes podcast interviews for your Yanni tour?
Oh my God, no! Like, can we let's create a show? Let's just take it on the road.
All right. I'm
all about
so
that.
down.
We say yes too.
The yes and moment.
See, I knew it. We could all be like just like a little pocket of us, like and be like a kangaroo pocket. Put Alan in there, Heather in there, and me. We'll be just like. I'm just sorry. I don't know.
We need a graphic of that.
You're sucking on the marsupial teeth of podcasting.
See, you had to
exactly. But I mean, like there's a fear factor, of course, but also like if you don't do it, then what's gonna come next? You might as well just say yes, right? Like, I mean, that's what's gonna create more opportunity is just by you going out there and meeting more people, and you meet a lot of really interesting people. I
love that.
And you experience a lot of different things. Like behind me, I have like I bring back everything from traveling. Like I go and have experiences. Like I have my little chandelier from Turkey.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like, and I remember like my day at the market and having tea, like the Turkish coffees and all these like little things. And so, I'm you gotta say yes, man. Gotta say yes. Just gotta do it.
How much people? Well, you touched on something a while ago. You said like you seem like this happy person. You said like all your songs are sad, and then you've got this fear that you said you're trying to overcome. And like, is there something? I call it the devil on your shoulder, right? That little voice in your head that says you're not good enough. You're just not good enough. Keep going, because you're never going to get there. And I deal with that. I deal with that on a constant basis. And I talk to my therapist about it, and that's like all. Like my motivation to exist is to like overcome that. And that's something we're working on. How is there that aspect of your life that like, do you experience that? Is that part of your creative experience to try to work around or work through?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I feel like there's always that, like you're your biggest critic, right?
Yes.
Like I feel like I'm always like, oh, people are like, oh my God, that was the most amazing performance you've given ever. And then here I am, I'm like, oh man, like that one note right before that note was really shitty. And
nobody knew that but you, though.
Exactly. So I'm really trying to just
or maybe Yanni.
I have to remind myself. Yeah, exactly. Because he'll give me a look, be like, as he's playing, he's like, that's okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, like, that's definitely a thing. I get that all the time, and but yeah, it's something that you always have to like try to work through, you know. And I'm recently like, oh man, if I don't like just do it, then it's just never gonna be what I want it to be. It's not even gonna have a chance to be what I want it to be. So